Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. This is Stephanie, and today we are going through Jeremiah chapters 28 through 30. Let's get started. You guys, chapter 28 starts off wild. We read about a false prophet, Hananiah, who tells the people the lie that the yoke of Babylon would be broken and all of the temple's articles would be restored within 2 years. He goes as far as actually breaking the wooden yoke that was around Jeremiah's neck. But Jeremiah then reminds us of this truth. We know a prophet is truly from the Lord when the word of the prophet comes true. That's the standard. It's not passion. It's not how well received it is. Hananiah spoke with passion and presented a message that was pleasing to the people. 2 years of exile instead of 70? Yes, please. But it wasn't true. It was deceptive, and there are consequences for leading people to trust in a lie. We read that God actually tells Jeremiah to go back to Hananiah to confront him. Instead of a wooden yoke, though, now the object lesson includes an iron yoke, as if to say the word of the Lord stands. Hananiah can't break this iron yoke. As Jeremiah said, God is giving authority to King Nebuchadnezzar for 70 years. And because Hananiah led the people to trust in a lie, he actually was preaching rebellion, the consequence would be death. And Hananiah actually died 2 months later. Even in this, we see that Jeremiah was a trustworthy prophet sent by God. In chapter 29, we read an encouragement that Jeremiah offers to those in exile. He relays this message from God. In your exile, build houses, put down roots, start a family, pursue the well-being of Babylon and pray for it. Remember, they were going to be there for 70 years, not 2 years, as the false prophets wanted them to believe. Then God reminds them of his promise. Restoration will come. This is God's sovereign plan for his people, a plan of well-being, not for disaster, to give them a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11 is often a verse quoted in graduation cards, right? But when we look at the context, we actually see that it was for the Jews exiled in Babylon. It isn't a promise of our own health, wealth, and prosperity right now. But what can we take from this promise? What does it teach us about God? It teaches us that God is faithful. It shows us that God loves his people and he does keep his word. Those truths impact how we go about our lives today. God invites his people to pray. Prayer is a gift, and it's a way to commune with God. God tells the exiles that if they sincerely pray, God will be found by them. What a comfort. Though they would endure this hardship for a time, for 70 years, the hope of restoration is there. They would be restored to the promised land, not because of their faithfulness, but because of God's faithfulness. In the midst of Jeremiah's prophecies, there continued to be false prophets. Some even directly opposed Jeremiah. But in the end, they received what was due them, death. And now on to chapter 30. This is the first of 3 chapters that turns to the promise of final restoration. Israel and Judah would be restored, their fortune and the land that they were promised. Will they endure hardship? Yes, and rightfully so. They refuse to listen to the Lord. Disobedience has its effects. But in this chapter, we see God's heart. He is in the business of restoration. He is a God who redeems. This chapter points to Israel and Judah's restoration after the Babylonian captivity. But it foreshadows what is to come beyond that. It points to Jesus, the Messiah. He is the greater David. He is the perfect prophet, priest, and king. And soon, he will come again and consummate his kingdom. Yes, God was promising them deliverance and healing and peace after the 70 years, but The full extent of this promise is something that we today look forward to. In the meantime, we wait with hope. We wait with confident expectation. We wait knowing that He is faithful and trustworthy, and we are His people, and He is our good God. We'll continue to read more about God's promise of restoration tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and as always, you can find us at dailygracepodcast.com or on Instagram at @TheDailyGraceCo or at Daily Grace Podcast. You can also find more resources at thedailygraceco.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.